here.
Oh, I was telling her before we hit record, you guys, that I'm like totally fangirling right now. Like,
That means so much.
oh my God, I love what you post. I love following you. I love your information. And don't worry, we'll put everything in the show notes so you guys can follow along too and just like girl fan with me. But you're just brilliant and you're not afraid to tell people the truth.
You know, the truth needs to be told. And if you know, I'm happy to be the messenger because it's information that I wish somebody told me when
Right?
I was struggling. Just
Yeah.
give it to me straight. No BS.
Mm-hmm. I feel you. And that's the way it is like in my world too, with like health and fitness and everything. I'm like, this is the truth. This is what you have to do. And if you're not going to pay attention to this, then these are the results that you're going to get. And I just think the filtered world and sugar-coated world that we live in is doing everyone a disservice.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And I definitely feel like we need to take a stand on things. And like you said, don't tiptoe over things, don't sugarcoat because we need to get real at some point, right? Because if I tell you stuff that what you want to hear, it's not going to help you in the long run.
No.
You're going to come back in 5 years and say, why didn't you tell me? So
Exactly. And I love that you're a mom and I love that you're in Southern California.
Are you in Southern California too?
So am I.
Oh,
Yes.
where?
Do you know where Canyon Lake is?
I don't.
Do you know where Temecula is?
Yes, I do.
I'm 30 minutes north of that.
Oh, okay. I'm in
Mhm.
Oceanside, so I'm just west of you.
Oh my God, we're still gonna go have lunch.
I know, seriously.
We might make the world just explode when we meet, but yeah, we go to Oceanside all the time. I love it, but I'm like in this hidden little gated community that people from California and they've lived here their whole life has never even heard of.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah, we're totally gonna meet up. So, Yvonne, I gotta know, how did this start for you? How did you become like the toxicology queen?
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Wow. I'm not,
That's your title.
yeah, I'm blown away. Thank you. I'm going to start using that from now on.
Yes, put it on a t-shirt.
I don't consider myself that. So thank you so much for this amazing title. But I basically discovered toxicology when I was in college. I was a biology major and part of my requirement was to do research. And so I was looking for a lab. And over the summer, I was like, hey, let me get a job in a lab just to see if this is what I want to do, or do I want to just write some kind of paper and fulfill that requirement instead. And I'm so glad that I decided to look for a job in the lab because I found a toxicologist who's a woman. She's an MD, PhD. She's master's in public health. I mean, this woman is an absolute genius. And she was studying how environmental chemicals in car exhaust, cigarette smoke, just everywhere in the environment, how they are triggering cancer and infertility in animals and in people. So that was the focus of her research. She's an environmental physician. And I just became completely obsessed with what she was doing. I was a dishwasher. I would wash dishes in the lab so that she could do experiments. And I'm just observing and going, what is she doing? This is incredible stuff.
Oh,
and
wow.
it just sucked me in. And I didn't leave her lab for 10 years.
You stayed.
I stayed.
You're like, I got a bed in the corner. I'm not
sorry.
going anywhere.
Exactly. I was a lifer. She eventually kicked me out. She's like, you got to go to move on to the next thing. But if I could have, I would have camped out there forever. I just absolutely love just looking at how our environment affects our health. And it wasn't anything that I was ever exposed to, for lack of a better term, before that in my entire life. It was just, we eat whatever we're sold in the stores. You don't really think about things. You just live the standard American lifestyle, eating the standard American diet, which is SAD, sad, right? Mm-hmm. And then you use the conventional products because there's no reason not to until you realize that they're affecting your health in the worst ways, which is what I experienced. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a mixture of things. So I grew up having a lot of hormone issues. I had a lot of immune problems, just sick all the time. I was not a healthy child, and that carried on into adulthood. And it was coincidental, I guess, that I also happened to study chemicals. And then later on, when I reached my 30s, I started having like all these, my health issues just were so awful. I had period problems. I had reproductive issues. I had fertility challenges. And I ended up having kids a lot later than my friends because I was struggling with fertility for a long time. And now I know it was because of environmental chemicals.
Oh, for sure. And no one like so many people could be telling us more about this. And it's like people don't have the guts. Like when I go to my pediatrician with my child, which we rarely even go anymore if I don't have to, because I get so mad and upset at like the things that they're telling me. And I'm just like just beyond frustrated. I'm like, why isn't she telling me to like, don't serve your kids food on plastic plates? You know, basic things like that, that they could be telling parents, and we don't hear anything about it. And you go to the average home, open up the cupboards, it's all pink, blue, rainbow colored, you know, sippy cups, plates, silverware, everything. And we're just consumed by like plastic, you know, and huge toxin, right?
Oh, absolutely. I don't mean to be, like an anti-plastic kind of crusader, but it more
Right.
and more every single day, there are just scientific studies and more evidence and showing that how devious and how terrible plastics are for our health. And we've just been conditioned as a society to accept it because it's cheap, it's everywhere, it's convenient, it works
Mhm.
well. What's not to love except the obvious health effects that we're now seeing decades after these things have just been churned out and pumped into our environment?
Right. And we trust. Like I before I knew much, I've slowly learned over the years, and I feel bad because I'm always like, I screwed up with my oldest and I got so good by the youngest by my youngest kid, and I know so much more. Sorry, honey. But it's true. And we just trust. I trusted that like no one's gonna put something in my lotion that's gonna give me cancer. That there's no way that that would be allowed. But it is. I mean, the whole smelling, we don't have to throw names, but everyone's going to know who it is. The whole good smelling store in the mall that you walk into and you can find things for your bath and it works. It's hurting us. It's killing us.
Absolutely. It's slowly over time. This is something that is building up in that children now are being born into such a more toxic environment than I was born into, than our parents and our grandparents were born
Mm,
into. Every subsequent generation, and this is very unfortunate, and this is one of the main reasons that I do this work, is that our kids do not deserve to bear the brunt and the burden of the consequences of the choices that these big corporations are making. Like you said, we trust them because nobody wants to believe or know that there are chemicals in our products that are harming our health. Right? Like you said,
yeah.
I went for so long, I was in total denial because I couldn't believe it. I said, no, 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 no. I've been using this my whole life. I'm fine. But then once I look back, I absolutely was not fine. Even as a kid, I already had a host of health issues. And it's not because our parents didn't want to try, it's that none of this information was known. So let's take it a step back and realize that it's these companies that have the responsibility to ensure that their products are safe. They claim that they're safe, but none of these ingredients are fully tested the way that they should be.
No.
None of them. None of them. Even there's this cosmetic ingredient review board that it reviews ingredients that go
Mhm.
into beauty and personal care products. The problem is that they review one chemical at a time, and we are never exposed to one chemical at a time.
No.
Exactly. Even, I mean, just think about it, like a piece of lettuce. There's tons of I mean, it's all made of chemicals, right? And there's hundreds, however many, we don't even know. But you're
Mhm.
never exposed to one chemical at a time. It makes zero sense. So when they look at it in a vacuum like that and they say it's safe, they don't think about how is this chemical going to interact with another chemical? How is this chemical going to interact with somebody at this age versus this age? There's no consideration for any of that. And so what we're sold is basically completely unknown. The health effects are unknown. And when we
God.
practice toxicology, there's this principle called the precautionary principle, right? And we treat anything unknown as the biggest red flag until it's guilty until proven innocent.
I
That's
love that.
not and that's not how things work in this country or
Mm-mm.
around the world. They're innocent until proven guilty, which is why now we're seeing such record disease rates and record cancer cases in people that are way younger than people used to get cancer 10, 20 years ago, even.
Mm-hmm. And can we talk about how these chemicals get stored, especially in women, in our fat, and are literally like making us fat. I'm just going to say it, even though this woman could be like, I'm eating healthy, I'm cleaning up my diet, I'm exercising, and I can't get rid of like this, and like grabs her stomach or her hips. That's a real thing, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Because there's these things called endocrine disruptors that affect our hormones. And some of these have what's called obesogenic activity, means that they increase fat deposition in the body. The irony is that the more you're exposed to these things, the more fat you'll store, the more they'll get stuck in your fat. And it's an endless loop that you just keep getting fatter and you can't get rid of the fat. And so I'm sure you know this more than